Shout out to G-Man Boxing. Where's the piss bottle? It's over there.
Alright, so Anthony Yarde stops Lyndon Arthur. Alright, so Anthony Yarde stops Lyndon Arthur in 4 rounds. I was picking Anthony Yarde to win, as you'll know by my prediction video, and I said it'll be a razor close decision. Might be unanimous, might be split, might be majority. In the comment section of that video, it was, I want to say it was maybe 60-40. People were favouring Lyndon Arthur in this fight. It was a much better fight than the first one. It was hard now to get worse than that, to be honest with you. It wasn't an entertaining fight. But the thing that kind of struck me from the first round was that it was almost like Yarde picked up from where the 12th round ended in the previous fight. Because Yarde, I said it once, I'll say it again, he lost that fight more than Arthur's won, the first fight. Now, in that 12th round, Anthony Yarde really went for it. You know, he really tried to put on Lyndon Arthur. He buzzed him slightly in that 12th round, but he really had a big end to that fight. And it seems to me as though he went from the 12th straight into the first, almost like it was the 13th round, if you get me. So he went straight in. He wasn't trying to, you know, box, use some of the shoulder rolls, what he was doing the first time. He wasn't giving, you know, Lyndon Arthur opportunities to get the jab working. He was just straight on him, using his speed and his punching power. Now, Yarde, I said this in my prediction video, when he comes in and tries to pressure, it's a little bit methodical. It is. It looked a lot more fluid in this fight. It certainly did. Speed looked there. I was very impressed with Anthony Yarde tonight. Extremely impressed with him. I think there's improvements there. I know he's added a few people into his team. Maybe that's done it. I think that, I'm just going to say, fighting in front of a crowd, I think does help Anthony Yarde. I think maybe that setting of behind closed doors really didn't play into his strengths and probably played more into Lyndon Arthur's strengths than it did Yarde. So I suspect that being in the copper box, maybe it would have helped as well. But very impressed I was with Anthony Yarde. He was landing the right hand quite consistently, you know, on Lyndon Arthur. Lyndon Arthur couldn't get his jab going. Now, Lyndon Arthur's jab is his best punch. He works off the jab a lot of the time and looks to set up the straight right hand on the back of it. So he couldn't get that jab set up with Anthony Yarde. Yarde was doing what I said he should do. Move his head. You know, he was getting in. He was kind of getting past the jab, not letting Arthur set it up. And then he was landing his shots up close. He was landing some good right hands. Was missing. At times he was missing. And he did walk onto a couple of right hands that Arthur's threw. You know, specifically in the 3rd round, he was hit by a couple of right hands. Didn't seem to phase Anthony Yarde. I think Yarde's chin, I said it in my prediction, is a good chin. I don't think he's chinny at all. You know, you can say what you want about the jab in the Kovalev fight. He was knackered at that stage. So I think Yarde can take a decent enough shot anyway. But first round, all Anthony Yarde. Second round I gave to Lyndon Arthur. I think it was a lot more even, Stephen. It was a lot more close. When I was looking at what Yarde was doing, the one thing that kind of sprung to my mind was, I hope if he's going to fight like this, he gets rid of Lyndon Arthur soon. Because I didn't think Anthony Yarde could maintain the way he was fighting for the 12 rounds. I would have thought he'd have to take a break, or he could potentially just not have the stamina to fight at that kind of ferocious pace. Because he was really trying. He was, I would say he was fighting at a devastating pace, but he was really trying to, you know, get on top of Lyndon Arthur in there. He really was. And I was just wondering, would he be able to carry that on? So if Lyndon Arthur was there 7th, 8th, 9th round, what would he have left for the remainder? As it turned out, he didn't need that. Going to, well, the back end of the 3rd round, Anthony Yarde was having a lot of success at the back end of that round. We go into the 4th round, and on top of the stoppage now, he landed a lot of punches on Lyndon Arthur, kind of landed a flurry on him. It was specifically, I think, a right hand, kind of like that, got Lyndon Arthur near the top of the head, that put him down. Now, it wasn't the heaviest knockdown you'll ever see, it has to be said. Lyndon Arthur just, he got back to his feet, and the referee waved it off. Now, I remember, I was looking at that thinking, is that a premature stop? There was no complaints. There was no protest from Lyndon Arthur, and I think that the writing was on the wall. I'm going to be frank. I think Yarde would have finished him off in that round had the referee let the fight keep going. I really do. So they didn't complain about the stoppage. I think that the right was on the wall, definitely there. And, you know, looking at this fight, you have to ask the question, if Anthony Yarde had employed them tactics in the first fight, what would have happened? Because it seemed like the minute he went in there, His punches were just a bit too sharp, bit too quick, bit too powerful for Lyndon Yarde. He couldn't get the jab working, and Yarde was able to just, chop a tree down, basically. That's kind of the way it is. So I think he's the Commonwealth champion now, is Anthony Yarde. So he's got that title under his belt. I would imagine he would look... I'd still love to see him versus Joshua Buatsi. I would. I really would. I'd love to see him versus Buatsi. Him versus... Are they going to stick around at domestic level, or are they going to push on, soldier on to European level, maybe fight guys like McCalkin or someone like that, or are they going to try and go on for world honours? I mean, depending on... you've got Beterbiev. I think that might be a bridge too far, although depending how he looks against Marcus Brown. Bivol, see how that... maybe I can't see that fight happening. You do have... Frank Warren will be praying that Callum Johnson can beat Joe Smith Jr. because that's an in-house fight. Ain't going to happen. Joe Smith Jr. is going to beat Callum Johnson. But I would pick Joe Smith Jr. over Anthony Yarde if they're looking at world champions at 175 pounds. But for sure, Anthony Yarde looked much better in this fight than he did in the previous fight. And you couldn't really gauge anything from the performance he had back in August. I think it was August, against that Puddin, because he was fighting a Puddin. Definitely impressed with Anthony Yarde in this fight. Able to get his revenge and beat Lyndon Arthur. Credit to him. I picked him to win, but I didn't think he'd win this decisively. Definitely not. And in many ways, looking at that first round, you could kind of tell the writing was on the wall from that first round. It just looked like Yarde wouldn't be denied. He just fought with someone who had something to prove, and he just didn't look like he'd be denied. And I think Lyndon Arthur got a bit shell-shocked, truth be told. I don't think he expected this kind of ferocity this early on. And I think it was a case of Yarde just wouldn't be denied tonight. So that's my thoughts on this. Let me know yours in the comment section. Who would you like to see him fight next? And where do you think both men go, respectively, from here? Leave it in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. For now, lads and lassies, if you could, smash the like button. Comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hit the notification bell. Help your boy out. For now, lads and lassies. Peace.